Let's turn now to Philip Stinson. He is a criminologist at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. He's also a former police officer who also monitors police shootings and corruption. We reached Philip in Washington. Philip, welcome to you.
Well, thank you, Carol.
Okay, look, just let me ask you this straight up. Are America's police forces racist?
Well, I don't know that they're racist, but I think what we've got is a very aggressive form of policing in this country. Typically, when police officers are dealing with, especially black males in street encounters, it's almost a situation where it's an us versus them mentality, and people are treated by police officers as if they're the enemy. And instead of de-escalating situations, quite often we see that the police officers are actually quickly escalating the situation.
Okay, what's leading to that? Why do you think that they see, and correct me if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but why do they see black men as the enemy?
Well, I think they see everybody as the enemy. You know, the police socialization process, the process when somebody becomes a police officer and they start working the streets over a period of a few years, it really does become an us versus them mentality. So eventually, anyone who's not a police officer or a relative is perceived as the enemy. The problem, though, is that, you know, a lot of these urban communities have a large African-American population, and it's who they're dealing with. And they don't live in those communities. The officers don't. They go home at night, and they just don't really have a good understanding of the communities in which they're working. So it just perpetuates itself.
Okay, a study looking at fatal shootings by U.S. police officers conducted by criminal justice researchers from the University of Louisville, University of South Carolina, building on research, unique research that was done by the Washington Post, concludes that the only thing that was significant in predicting whether someone shot and killed by police was unarmed was whether or not they were black. The study's researchers wrote that of their analysis of the 990 shootings in 2015, it suggested that police exhibit shooter bias by falsely perceiving blacks to be greater threats than non-blacks to their safety. What do you think of that?
Well, I think there are a lot of implicit biases in policing, and I don't know if we can fix that. I don't know if we can have implicit bias training that's actually going to take hold. And there's no accountability because, you know, about 1,000 times a year in the United States, police officers shoot and kill someone. Last year, only 18 officers were criminally charged, and it's even rare that an officer is convicted. It's very, very rare. There's just no accountability.
Yeah, Josh Carell, a University of Colorado Boulder psychology professor, ran some bias tests on shooter video games, and his initial findings showed police officers generally did a good job of avoiding shooting unarmed targets of all races, but when shooting was warranted, officers pulled the trigger on these video games more quickly against black suspects than white ones, suggesting, again, racial bias in shooting. And that's the question going forward, is how to fix this problem.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. It's deeply ingrained in the police subculture, though, deeply ingrained.
Yeah. What would you suggest going forward? What do you think the next steps are to deal with this?
Well, I think we're on the right track in that we're getting a lot more attention than we used to get, especially on a national level and an international level. And the only thing that's really driving that are the citizen videos. Everybody's got a video phone in their smartphone, or a video camera in their smartphone, and I think that's making a huge difference. It doesn't tell the whole story, and we don't see every camera angle that we need to see, but it tells enough of the story to change the dialogue. You know, in the past, the police have always owned the narrative, and a dead man can't talk, but a video is a good surrogate.
When you saw the video, the latest video of Mr. Castile and his death and the narration by his girlfriend, what did you notice about it? How did it strike you as a former police officer?
Well, what I noticed was that she was incredibly well composed. I mean, just to able to keep her composure with her 4-year-old in the car, to keep her composure with the video camera rolling. I never would have thought to live stream it. I mean, that's just an amazing thing. And we wouldn't be having this conversation had she not done that. And his family is just an incredible group of individuals. They really have helped today in keeping the dialogue focused in the right direction.
Yeah, a lot of people wondering how she got, you know, how she had the wherewithal to live stream it and narrate it as calmly as she did. Some people thinking maybe perhaps because this is so common now that there's an effort now amongst people in the African American community to show the world what it's like for them on the streets.
Well, it's business as usual. This is nothing new for African Americans. Black people in urban areas know this happens all the time. And I also think you have something going on there where you've got a mother. It's a life or death situation, and she performed amazingly well under the incredible stresses. I don't know that I would have been able to maintain my composure.
Well, the police officer is shaking. You can hear the adrenaline in his voice when he is almost defending himself at the time, saying, I told him not to reach for it. I told him not to reach for it, and you can hear his labored breathing.
Well, we've actually seen in the past, and I'm not suggesting this is the case right now, but we've seen in the past that police officers, in some situations, immediately start lying. They make a narrative that's just not consistent with the videos, and it's immediate. It's within seconds. We saw it with Michael Slager in South Carolina. You know, his first thought was to plant evidence, to plant the taser to make it look like someone had grabbed his taser away from him.
Yeah. So what's that about, do you think?
Well, it suggests to me that there's an incredible level of corruption, and that it's such an interesting subculture that I don't know how we break out of it, because it's very deep. It's truly, I've said it several times, an us versus them mentality.